1-4B. Still dealing with the measure of an angle, okay? So get your notes out. Start writing with me. What does it mean to be congruent?
Equal.
The same, equal. I love it. Both of those words are true. So today, we're going to talk about angles that are congruent, okay? No, but I had the same thought.
Oh, what?
She loves firefighters. Okay, congruent angles. The way we mark angles congruent is, so if you recall, when we talked about congruent segments, remember we just put little hash marks like that, and that said those segments were congruent. So if this was like, you don't have to write this part. If this was ABC, we would say AB is congruent to BC. With angles, it's different, okay? So hash marks with segments, okay? But with angles, look at what they do differently here. There's a little arc right here and a little arc right here. We say angle A is congruent to angle B. That means they are the same measure. So if this one was going to be 30 degrees, then what's angle B?
30 degrees.
30 degrees, okay? They are congruent, 30 and 30, okay? All right, so let's do this. What if I give you this as a picture? Okay, two angles there, actually 3 angles there, but we're going to talk about 2. Those 2 angles with that double arc marking means those 2 angles are congruent. So if this was A, B, C, and D, we would say angle A. Can you name this angle for me? A what? ADB. Remember, we always put the vertex in the middle. So angle ADB is congruent to, can you name the other one for me? B what? BDC. Okay, if there was a third set of angles that were congruent, how do you think we would mark those? A new picture. So now there's this picture with congruent angles. How would I mark them? What would I put here and here? Because I already did a single arc and then I did a double arc.
Angle D and then angle where the top is.
No, but I don't think I'm asking this question very well because you guys aren't understanding what I'm saying. I'm saying if there's a third set of angles in one problem and they're all congruent, the first 2 are congruent, the next 2 are congruent, and the last 2 are congruent, you just mark them with more arcs, right? So if I wanted to show that these are congruent, I would do 3 arcs and 3 arcs, right? So look for the arcs. The number of arcs is going to show you which angles are congruent.
Wait, so if the second angle has 3 arcs, then it's going to go 2 arcs?
No, these 2 have 2 arcs up at the top, right? Those are double arcs, so those 2 are congruent. Here, let me show you this. What if I gave you just a big, huge picture? Ooh, that's bad. Okay, if I wanted to mark angles congruent here, those 2 I have marked congruent right now because they have 1 arc, right? These 2 would be congruent because they have 2 arcs, right? And then these 3 would be congruent. Sorry, these 2 would be congruent because they have 3 arcs. So it's like saying if this one is 40 degrees, then this one is 40 degrees also, right? If this one is 50 degrees, then this one's 50 degrees also because they have the double markings. And then the triple mark, let me see, I gotta make this make sense. That would be 90 and 90, right? So it's just the number of marks says the number, like which angles are equal to each other. Does that make sense? Okay. Remember we did, it was called the segment addition postulate. And that was like, you had a segment. If you added the 2 pieces together, don't write this down. If I do this plus this, it equals the whole thing, right? That was segment addition postulate. Now we're going to talk about angle addition postulate. So not this. Can you name for me this angle? How would you name that angle?
AOB.
AOB, right? So we're saying the measure, you don't need to write this, it's right here, but I'm gonna write it so you can see it with the picture. The measure of angle AOB plus, how would you name this angle? Angle BOC, good job.
And it can't be COB?
It could be COB.
Okay.
Yep, COB or BOC. Either one is fine. As long as the O's in the middle, you're good. So those two added together would equal what angle?
O. 3 line.
The whole thing.
AOC.
AOC.
And the B would be the one that you like.
So AOC is this.
Okay.
So B is not part of that angle, right? It's inside of that angle. Okay, so that's angle addition. Basically, it's saying this. Let's say you have this picture where this is 85 degrees and this is 35 degrees. And I'm going to call this A, O, and C. Can you tell me the measure of angle AOC? So AOC is this one. It's what?
130.
Close, 120, right? AOC is just the 85 plus the 35, right? The two put together equal the whole thing. So 120 degrees, okay? Add the two up, you get the whole thing. Okay, can I move on from that? You still writing?
There's no film for these.
There's what? No fill in the blanks, is that what you said? I'm just drawing pictures for you, sample pictures. Okay, so let's look at this.
There's no film in the blanks. You saw me to see
Well, yeah, because you should be writing down what I'm writing down still. Look at example 2 here. Now, guys, the instructions, the directions for a problem are so hugely important on problems like this because they give you good information, okay? Look at this. Okay? In your notes right now, I want you to highlight, I'm going to come check. I want you to highlight angle RQT, or just draw it in with pen. Angle RQT.
Yes, RQT.
Like
Look,
this.
that's the whole thing. Yes, exactly. RQT, it's like this. No, you're highlighting the whole thing. The whole thing, not just the
It's
dots.
not RQS or it's not QST, it's RQT.
Because yours drew. I do not want to do
What did he say?
Good. Okay, we got it. So now here's what it says. RQT, right? That angle is 155 degrees, right?
I was wondering what yours was.
Yes, correct. You are right, Mrs. Verhoeven. Thank you. So if the whole thing is 155, how do I figure out what X is? What do I have to do with this information? How?
Add 20
You-
to both sides.
Okay, I mean, eventually you could.
Yeah, to both
How do we
sides.
set it up? Like, what's our setup for the problem?
4x minus 20 equals 3x plus 14.
Not equals. We didn't say these. Look, there's no marking here that says these are equal angles, right? So we can't assume they're equal. Plus. Plus what?
3x plus 14.
Yes. Equals what? What does that equal? You just told me.
RQT.
Which is?
Now, 155.
155, okay? That's why it's so important to read the question, because somewhere in the question there's information that you need to use to solve it. Okay? So this is 155. And then we simplify. 4x plus 3x is 7x. Negative 20 plus 14 is negative 6 equals 155. What's your next step? How? So if it's 7x,
Add the 6 to the
yes, we're going to add 6 to both sides. So 161 is 7x.
Then you divide by 7.
And then we divide by 7. And at that point, you can just plug it into your calculator. 161 divided by 7 is, that's not what I want. 161 divided by 7 is 23. Okay, are we done with the problem? No, what do we have to do?
Plug it back in.
Right, we want to know the measure of these two angles. So RQS, angle RQS, is 4 times 23 minus 20. And again, plug that into your calculator. That's totally fine. 4 times 23 minus 20 is 72. Okay, so that's RQS. SQT or TQS, doesn't matter which order. Do you have a question?
No.
The next one we're going to plug in right here. 3 times 23 plus 14. Plug that in. 3 times 23 plus 14 is, oh shoot. Sorry. 83. Okay, so here's my question. We have two angles there. How do I check that they're the right angles?
Add them together.
And
155.
they should equal 155. Thank you, Forrest. So 83 plus 72 should equal 155, and it does. Nailed it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So when you first begin the problem and you take the two sides,
Mhm.
You add them instead of putting in equal signs. And
Right.
Subtract, like do reverse of what they are.
Right. So are you saying like once you're here?
Well, yeah, because I'm used to like taking the two sides and then instead of like you put a plus to separate them,
Yes.
I put equals.
Right.
And then I would
They-
take like the opposite of it.
So sometimes you'll set them equal. It depends on the problem, right? This problem, they told us the total was 155. So we know the two parts, we have to add them together to set them equal to the total. If it was something like this, okay, let's say we had this picture, and this was 2x plus 4, and this was 3x minus 1, and they said solve for x. Now they're telling us those angles are equal, so you would set those two parts equal. So it's really just a matter of what the problem looks like. If the problem has congruent angles, then set them equal. If the problem doesn't have congruent angles, but they told you the total, then you're going to add them together and set it equal to the total.
So ones like this are just plus and you just add them.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see if you can do it. YMC is 170 degrees. I want to know the measure of this angle when all is said and done. Sorry for the blur factor. Okay? So figure out how would you set that up. Don't forget the fact that YMC is 170. That is helpful information, right? See if you can set that up. Isaiah, you have a piece of paper you can just try it on?
Yeah. On my iPad. I love math.
You have a pen?
Yeah.
Or a pencil? Try it on there.
Do you like this one? I like these. Yeah, it is. I like this one. I love this one, actually.
Did you guys retake your
I find this
Did you guys
math
retake your
fun,
Bible
actually.
issue?
No.
No, I did.
5x.
J.
It-
I did retake
That's
it.
what you get on it.
Yeah,
Last time I got 11 out of 15, but that's like a 7th grade.
I could do
So I retook it, and I probably got the same grade. Because I didn't know it was retake day, I just.
Oh, that's fine. It looked like more. You're good.
It's
No, I didn't know it was retake day. So I just retook it anyway, so the chances that I would make.
Sorry. What's 19 plus 1? Well,
Oh. I thought it was.
no, it will be subtract, but you did 19 minus 1.
That's
Plus I'm sorry that I scared you.
Wait, add that.
No way.
Is that plus right there? Okay.
Am I on the right track?
Yes, what are you going to set it equal to?
Equals 170.
Yes.
Let's go. No, maybe. I don't
Is
know.
it like,
Can you
Yeah,
check
not-
my?
is that an Apple Pencil?
Yeah.
You have it set to not acknowledge your hand?
I mean, yeah, but it's like messed up. So
You gotta
watch.
turn on
It's like
left-handed mode.
it's
Can
like
you check my hands?
That's so weird. But it's like
I think it's like when you rest your hand on it, it's
yeah.
there's somewhere that you can.
I have it. I think I have it like set to that because if I do this, like, yeah.
It looks like it is on the left-handed mode. I didn't understand that. That was
Okay,
the
so
thing
you
you
added
added.
one
There
to
you
your
go.
one, just like, why isn't it
Mhm.
working?
What? What do you mean?
I think it
You
turns
did
on
5x
before you eventually
plus 19 plus 5x plus 1.
Yeah.
What does that equal?
Yes, I know.
That's it. 40.
No, it's not.
Oh,
I used to actually love
Just that that
and then I just pick this one.
Because right here, there's nothing to solve, right?
Okay.
It has to equal something, so you can
Like,
move
I don't
things
have
away
any
from your
for
head.
And then I just.
Really? My dad is, I am, and my grandma is. I mean, that's what I
I
said.
was right.
You say that equals
Yes, and both of
170.
you. I
And
throw
now
I
you
it.
wanna,
Yes.
yeah, I throw and like I do everything with that, and then I kick with my right. Yeah,
Not that I like doing these like
Yeah.
sports and usually front, but like.
I wanna see.
In
I
the real
realize
world,
something
if I were
about
to, if I were to like have to defend myself, I'd use my left hand. Or my right hand.
Okay,
So
we know
yeah,
the total,
yeah, right,
right?
yeah.
So the two
Probably 'cause
parts
it's stuff you
added
don't.
together have to equal the total.
Oh,
So
yeah.
there it is,
My, this
plus
arm's just
that.
stronger than this one. Like,
I
if
don't
you
see
have to
me,
arm
but I
swing
always
one
want
hand.
to.
Like, if you use your.
What'd you get?
You'll see your
I'm not done yet.
I have a crush on you, Chris.
Oh, thank you.
What's your dominant eyelid? Like,
Mine
do
is.
this.
This is really blind.
Just do it.
Ew.
This is really blind.
It's your right eye.
I don't know what you mean by that.
It's your right eye. It's like
What are
your
you doing?
dominant eye. Your dominant eye. Like the eye you, like which eye can you see?
But
Because I'm blind in my left.
which eye do I see
Both of them.
of yours?
Yeah.
Ah, how does
I
that
see
work?
your left eye.
That's my dominant eye.
What?
Oh, right. Yes.
I have a
Do you see one? What do you see?
If you're talking to someone,
What if I go like
which
that?
eye do you look at?
Left.
Let's just like look at natural. Like,
I don't. I'm trying to think right now, like what I'm looking at of you. I don't know that I'm looking at an eye.
well, when you get
Is that does that determine your dominant eye?
No, I just don't know.
Okay. Does anyone have an answer for me? What'd you get?
X equals 15. That's not
X is 15. Okay. Did you find the measure of AMC then?
AMC is 76 degrees.
Good. Okay.
IMA is 26 degrees.
Oh, you went even further. Okay, so here it is.
For Isaiah.
When they give you the total, right? I want you to think of this phrase every time. If they give you a total angle, I want you to think the two parts equal the whole, right? So two
I
parts,
did the same thing.
5x plus 19 and 5x plus 1, right? We're adding those together to equal what? What was our whole?
170.
170.
I think I would.
Okay, so 5x plus 5x is 10x. 19 plus 1 is 20, and that has to equal 170. We take away the 20. How we doing so far?
150. Right?
Yep, divide by 10. So x should come out to 15. Okay, but then the question says AMC. AMC is this angle, the 5x plus 1. So angle AMC is 5 times what?
Yeah, 15.
The 15, what we just found. 5 times 15 plus 1, which is 75 plus 1, so 76 degrees. Okay, so if this is 76 and this is 170, that should be, what is that, 94? Nope. 100, no, 94. So 5 times 15 plus 19 is 94. So then you can check it. That does equal 170. So then you know you got the right answer. Okay? Questions on that?